everyone. Today I will be interviewing Feyzullah for the role of an experienced Node.js developer. And by the way, welcome to another round of Turing Mock Interview series. I am Jose, and I will be your technical screener today. Okay, so before we get started, I would like to mention that the questions that you might see today were made for YouTube purpose. Okay, if you come across a Turing Node.js interview, you might get some different questions. You might get some similar questions as well. Okay, but this one were made exclusively for YouTube purpose. I don't say exclusive, but yeah, for YouTube. So let's get started with our interview today. So first of all, hello, Feyzullah. How are you doing and how is your day doing so far?
Thank you very much. It's been good so far. How about you?
Not bad, not bad. I still have my finger broken, so still with this with 3 months, I guess. Then I'll be back to the play. All right. So to get started this meeting, I would like to ask you to introduce yourself and tell me a little bit about your professional experience, okay, your background. Then I will take from there. Cool.
Cool. I am Feyzullah from Turkey. I have about 9 years of working experience as a software engineer. Before graduating from computer engineering department, I started to work as a part-time PHP web developer in a local JS company. And then after working there until graduation, I started working as an R&D software engineer in a multinational industrial automation company. I worked there with C, C++, and Java. And then after working there, I launched my own company, own tech company. And I started using Node.js in my projects. I used other technologies like Python, C++, Java, and others. However, I used Node.js heavily for my backend development.
Nice. That was great, by the way. Okay. So, all right. Could you please tell me a little bit about some projects, some interesting project that you have worked on?
Yeah, sure. In my own company, I used Node.js whenever I could. One of the interesting projects was an election monitoring system, which was used in the 2019 Turkish municipal elections. It was nearly a real-time system. I have chosen Node.js because its asynchronous logic enabled me to work with WebSockets easily. Another interesting project was an on-premise desktop application for Windows. There are ways to pack Node.js servers as executables, and I created an exe after writing in Node.js easily.
Nice, cool. And so for that project, okay, what was the database that you using?
In both of them, I used for tabular data PostgreSQL, and for document data related data, I used CouchDB. I used both of them in these projects.
Mm-hmm. Nice. All right. So let's talk about Node.js. Okay. Let's see. What are buffers in Node.js?
Mm-hmm. Right. Actually, buffers are temporary memory spaces, and they are mainly used by streams. They are also used whenever raw data needs to be processed. The buffer class is a subclass of JavaScript's unsigned integer array class, actually, and it extended with some additional use cases. This one supports legacy encodings like ASCII, UTF-8, etc. It's a fixed allocated memory outside the V8 engine.
Cool. All right. So let's see. What do you understand about middlewares in Node.js? What are middlewares?
Yeah, they are used heavily in Node.js applications. Middlewares come in between your request and business logic, actually. It's mainly used to capture logs and enable rate limit, routing, authentication, basically whatever is not a part of your business logic. And there are third-party middlewares also such as body parser, and you can write your own middleware for a specific use case. Yeah, there can be a lot of middlewares as well.
Okay, and so if you want to use middlewares in Express Node.js with Node.js and Express.js, what we need to do?
Yeah, we can start with an async function. We develop it, and then we use next for passing the data and continuing with the another middleware. We just put it into in between what middlewares was working before. Then the first one will be executed, our new middleware will be executed, and when it comes to next, then the other one is executed.
Gotcha. Yes. All right. And this question, okay, my next question is like quite a common question, I would say, in all JavaScript interviews. Do you get these questions? Okay. This question is specific. What is the event loop? What do you understand about the event loop in Node.js?
Yeah, actually, this is heart of V8 engine. But whatever that is, asynchronous is managed by an event loop. It uses a queue and a listener. So when an async function needs to be executed, the main thread sends it to a different thread, allowing V8 to keep executing the main code. The event loop involves different phases with specific tasks such as timers, pending callbacks, idle or prepare, poll, check, and close, etc. Also, in between iterations, it checks for async input output or timers and shuts down cleanly if there aren't any.
Okay, sounds good. Yeah. And what do you understand, okay, about the concept of stub in Node.js?
Yeah, stubs are used in writing tests, which are an important part of development. It replaces the whole function which is getting tested. This helps in some scenarios. Here, we can give some examples. For example, if an external call is done, which takes too much time and is running slow, we can replace its output with a stop, with stop output. And let's say we have something that triggering different outcomes for a piece of code. For example, what happens if an error is thrown or if it passes? Yeah, it's a different thing, but I was creating simple stop servers for testing my user interface as well. It can be used for such scenarios.
Got you. All right. And next question. How could you enhance the Node.js performance through clustering?
Yeah. Just because Node.js applications run on a single processor, they don't take advantage of multiple core systems by default. Clustering is used to overcome this issue. The cluster mode is used to start up multiple Node.js processes, so we have multiple instances of the event loop. When we start using clusters in a Node.js app, it creates multiple Node.js processes. But there's also a parent process called the cluster manager, which is responsible for monitoring the health of the individual instances of the application.
Got you. And why cluster are different from worker threads? What are worker threads different from cluster or vice versa?
Yeah, then let's first talk a little bit more with clusters. In cluster mode, there is one process on each CPU with an inter-process communication protocol to communicate. And in case we want to have multiple servers accepting HTTP requests via a single port, clusters can be helpful. This is an advantage of clustering. And the processes are spawned in each CPU, and thus will have separate memory and node instances, which further will lead to some memory issues. This one can be counted as a disadvantage. Let's talk a little bit for worker threads. Here we have one process in total with multiple threads. Each thread has one node instance, one event loop, one JS engine, and it can access most of the APIs, and it shares memory with other threads without need of any inter-process communication. And this can be used for CPU intensive tasks like processing data or accessing the file system. Since Node.js is single threaded, synchronous tasks can be more efficient by leveraging the worker threads.
Cool, nice. All right. Could you please explain me what is a range active search pattern?
Yeah, then we came to testing, right?
Yes.
Yeah, actually, arrange assert is a great way to structure test cases. It prescribes an order of operations. Let's talk them step by step. The first step is to arrange inputs and targets. Arrange step should set up the test case. If the test requires any objects or special settings, if it needs to prepare a database, or if it needs to log into a web app, we should handle all of these operations at the start of the tests. And this is done in arrange step. The second step is to act on the target behavior. X steps should cover the main thing to be tested. This could be calling a function or a method, calling a REST API, or interacting with a web page. This can one of these, and we are keeping these actions focused on the target behavior. The third step is to assert expected outcomes. X steps should elicit some sort of response. Assert steps verify the goodness or badness of their response. Sometimes assertions are as simple as checking numeric or string values. Other times they may require checking multiple facets of a system. Assertions will ultimately determine if the test passes or fails.
Okay, got you. Before, earlier we talked about the event loop in Node.js. We talked a little bit about asynchronous operation in Node.js, right? Node.js also has a couple timing features, timing functions that allows you to schedule further processing. Okay, what are the timing features of Node.js?
Actually, the timer module is an essential part of Node.js, and it has some functions for some different purposes. Let me talk about first set timeout and clear timeout. They can be used to schedule code execution after a designated amount of milliseconds, and of course, set timeout does this, and clear timeout clears that timeout. We have set interval and clear interval. They can be used to execute a block of code multiple times, like bouncing. And we have set immediate and clear immediate. This will execute code at the end of the current event loop cycle. And at last, we have process next tick. Next tick is used to schedule a callback function to be invoked in the next iteration, right? Next iteration of the event loop. I have these. If there are more, please tell me.
Yeah, I think you covered all of them. So let's see. Earlier also we talked about clustering, right? To I'd say to expand the Node.js capability, right?
Right.
We talk different process. Then we talk about EPC that we can talk, send messages and change messages. Let's say talk about different process with different process. Then my next question is related to that. Okay, what's the difference between child process spawn and execute functions in Node.js, and when to use each one?
Yeah, we are talking about spawn and exec, right?
Yeah, spawn child or execute commands, I would say.
Yeah, let's have one by one comparison.
Okay.
I'll call when we do it with spawn, I'll call it spawn, and the other one I will call exec.
Okay.
For spawn, it doesn't spawn a shell, and exec spawns a shell in which the pass command is executed, and spawn streams the data returned by the child process, and the data flow is constant. In exec mode, it buffers the data and waits till the process closes, and it transfers the data on chunk. Yeah, spawn has no data transfer size limit because it's like a stream. Exec has a maximum data transfer is up to 1 megabyte. And we can say that spawn is a command designated to run system commands. Spawn is more suitable for long-running processes with huge outputs. And we use exec if we need such features as shell pipes, redirects, or even we need exec for more than one program.
Okay. All right. And so in your previous answer, you mentioned that you use Express.js in a couple Node.js projects, right? And I have a question regarding that. Why should we separate the Express app and the server?
All right. Yeah. This is because actually the server is responsible for initializing the routes, middlewares, and other application logic, and Express app has all the business logic, which will be served by the routes initiated by the server. Why we are separating? Because separating them ensures that the business logic is encapsulated and decoupled from the application logic, which makes the project more readable and maintainable.
Yeah, and also it's good for testing because you just need to load the Express. Yeah, and you can run any server. You can test your application there. All right, all right. Could you please explain me what is the Reactor Pattern in Node.js?
Yeah, this is also a common question, right?
Yes, every time.
You can say that a reactor pattern is a pattern for non-blocking IO operations, but in general, this is used in any event-driven architecture. There are two components here named reactor and handler. Reactor dispatches the IO events to appropriate handlers, and handlers actually works on those events.
All right, fair enough. Yeah, it's also, we have a couple design part, which is we can work with as an event emitter, right? So in one hand, a subscriber would say, in one hand you have the event, and the other hand you have the handler. So when you fire the event, this guy will be notified, and then it will do whatever it needs to do. Is that?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, yeah, great. All right. And what's the difference between read file and create read string in Node.js?
Yeah, the read file process actually is a fully buffered process that returns the response only when the complete file is pushed into the buffer and it's completely read. And as we can guess, this is a memory intensive process because it has all the data in a file. And if we are working with large files, this cannot be preferred actually. So we have create read stream. It is a partially buffered process that treats the entire process as an event series. So the entire file is split into chunks and then processed and then sent back as a response one by one. After completing this step, they are finally removed from the buffer, unlike it is done in read file. So the create read stream process is more effective when we are processing large files. It can be preferred this time.
Great. All right. As that said, okay, that was my last question. Thank you, Feyzullah. It was a really nice speak with you. And to everybody else here, thank you for tuning this mock interview series alive. And I hope you enjoyed this as much as I did. Okay, we'll be back very soon with many other episodes and covering different tech stacks and libraries and even frameworks. So if you're looking for some specific mock interview, please leave a message in the comment section below and tell me what mock interview you would like to see. I've seen people commenting, I would like to have a Flutter mock interview. So we are preparing that because you asked it for. Okay, this Node.js, you asked it for again. We made one again. If you have any other tech stack that you would like to be covering this mock interview series, please leave a message in the comment section below. Okay, and don't forget to give us the big fat thumbs up for this video if you enjoyed this mock interview series, and subscribe to our channel if you are not subscribed already. Take care, stay safe, and happy coding.